So welcome again to Project E3 Leadership Academy Community of Practice. Good to have everyone on for our May meeting. And thank you all for accommodating me and having a fourth Thursday meeting instead of a third Thursday meeting. So as we get started today, we're going to ask everyone to introduce themselves, tell us who you are, what state you represent, and tell us what you do. So we'll start. I'm going to call your name this time. And I'll start from my screen, which in the top left corner is Dr. Susan Flowers Benton.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Susan Flowers Benton. I am the PI for Project E3 and an assistant professor at Southern University representing Louisiana. So happy to be here and glad that everyone can join us. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Susan. The next is Pam Geddes. You're muted.
Sorry about that. I'm Pam Geddes out of the state of Illinois. I'm a public service administrator for the division of rehab.
Good. Thanks for being on today. All right, welcome David Leon.
Hello, my name is David Leon. I'm the Deputy Director for Workforce Programs. Hello, Jane, nice to see you. For the Virginia Department for Aging and Rehabilitative Services and representing Virginia on this call.
All right, we can barely hear you, David. You might have to call in. So, yeah, David Leon from Deputy Director, Virginia, Division of Rehab. I think it's the gist of what he said. Virginia,
yeah, I'm sorry, I'll call in.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Karma.
Hey everyone, I'm Karma Marshall. I'm NRVR Director for South Carolina Commission for the Blind.
Good to have you on today. Jane Hagel, how are you today?
I'm great, Robin. It's good to see everybody. Jane Hagel, VRC for the Oregon Commission for the Blind.
Good to have you on. Ismail, hello.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Ismael De Leon. I'm the Student Services Counselor for Department of Rehabilitation in Bakersfield area in California State.
In the meeting. Good to have you. All right, next is Sarah.
Hi, my name is Sarah Claja. I am a vocational rehabilitation counselor for the Oregon Commission for the Blind.
Welcome, Roxana.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Roxana Robinson. I am a South Regional Program Manager for the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation in Kentucky.
Good to have you.
Thanks.
Daphne, welcome.
Welcome. I want to say hello to everyone, but I want to say a special hello to Dr. Flowers. I am originally a Louisianian, and so I get so excited when I share space with people who are currently occupying space within my home state. So hi to you. But I am the VR unit manager for the Commission for the Blind here in New Mexico, and I'm happy to be with everyone today.
Good to have you. Thanks for being on.
Hey, Louisiana.
Shout out to Louisiana. Next is Glenda Sanders.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, I'm from the state of Illinois. I am a voc rehab counselor. Glad to be here.
Good to have you. And Beth Newcomb, hello.
Hi, this is Beth Newcomb. I'm from North Carolina. I'm the unit manager for the Vocational Rehabilitation and Independent Living Office.
Great. Thanks for being on today.
You're welcome.
I think I got everyone. So I'll go to the introduction for our guest speaker today. I heard this gentleman speak at the NCSAB's conference earlier this month, and he has such a compelling story that I thought he would be perfect for our community of practice. Maxine G is a 19-year-old college freshman at Hines Community College in Raymond, Mississippi, and a U.S. Air Force auxiliary member in the Civil Air Patrol. Maxine lost his sight at the age of 15 due to a failed suicide attempt. but has persevered. And now he is a National Federation of the Blind National Scholarship finalist. He is a Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society member. He is a member of the Dean's List at his college. He's an accomplished guitarist and bassist and an avid coffee enthusiast. I may have to connect with you, Maxie, to talk about that coffee. This month, Maxine shares his story, shares his insights, and as I said earlier, it's such a compelling story, such a motivational and moving story. I just think he's a jewel, a great find for us, and really excited to hear him share about his experience with dealing with blindness, and then how his connection with VR, and how we can, as VR professionals, improve our work to better reach hard to reach populations. So I'm going to turn it over to him. And thank you for joining us today.
Appreciate it. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we hear you loud and clear.
Yep.
All right. As Ms. Freeman mentioned, my name is Maxine Gretchkoff, and I'm the communications officer for my squadron down here in Mississippi. And I just finished my freshman year of high school, or not high school, but college. And I'm starting summer classes just next week, actually. And I am also totally blind and completely deaf in my right ear. So if I messed up with my sideburns while shaving, or I'm wearing like a pink tie, it's okay to make fun of me. I lost my sight when I was 15 on the 11th of December in 2017. Until then, I was completely normal in all regards. I was a cadet colonel in the Air Force's Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps. I had intentions to enlist in the Army and become either a flight warrant officer or an infantry officer. I had never seen an actual blind person in real life. I knew that they probably used canes and that they probably ran into walls a lot, but I had no knowledge of any sort of existence of any sort of VR or school for the blind or really anything relating to low vision. I was able-bodied in all regards, perfect sight, perfect hearing. I still ran into walls occasionally, but that was just because I wasn't looking. And then things kind of took a sharp turn. My mother passed away a few years previously, and that sent me in a downward spiral that just kept going down and down and down. And eventually I took a 9mm pistol, and I think I was just tired of it all and ready to rest. And at around 11 p.m. on the 11th of December, I put the barrel right between my eyes and I pulled the trigger. That was my entry into the world of blindness, and that is how I lost my sight. Fortunately, I had a few good friends that I texted goodbye to, and they called the police. The police busted down the door, saved me, rushed me to the hospital. But a few days later, around the 15th or the 16th, about a day or so before my own birthday, my 16th birthday, I woke up in the hospital bed, very, very sore, very, very confused, and I couldn't see. No matter how many times I opened my eyes, no matter how many times I closed my eyes, no matter how hard I prayed, I just couldn't see. And at that moment, I had figured that my life was gone. I had aspirations of joining the military and becoming an active duty service member. I thought that was gone. I had aspirations of maybe starting a family or getting into business or doing anything that any sighted person can do. And I thought that was gone. I didn't know there were any supporting agencies that could help me retain my normalcy. And I just thought I was going to sit in that hospital bed forever, maybe sit at the house. And I didn't know what blind people could do. So I thought I'd just waste away until I died. A more natural death, but one I still didn't want. Fortunately for me, my stepfather did hear of the Mississippi School for the Blind, and he did get in contact with them. And through MSB, the whole world of VR was open to me. It took me about half a year to get through UMMC and then through glorious Whitfield, which wasn't fun at all. I really wouldn't recommend going there. But once I got discharged from the psychiatric ward and I was deemed mentally fit and ready to go about and do blind things, I was enrolled at the School for the Blind. And that really opened my eyes, metaphorically speaking, of course, to the capabilities of blindness and how it's not so much a defining characteristic, but just something that makes me unique. And I think personally, my defining characteristic is that I'm still serving in some sort of auxiliary military capacity. But through the Mississippi School for the Blind began my slow transformation into Maxine again, and not whatever I thought blind people are. It's been a journey. So through the School for the Blind, I was introduced to my vocational rehab counselor, which was Miss Excellence Woodard with the Mississippi Department of Vocational Rehab for the Blind. And there I learned that they would assist with education. They would assist with not only teaching me stuff, but purchasing equipment for me and just doing all that they could and expending all the resources that they could to help me rehabilitate myself and achieve my vocational goals. When I spoke to Ms. Woodard with MDRS, I decided that since I can't do any sort of military service, at least active duty, I'm going to do the next best thing and serve in law enforcement, which led me to choose my major of criminal justice at Hines and to set a career goal to be an emergency dispatcher, working with radios and saving lives. So with MDRS, I worked out vocational goals. I got started with the very basics of learning how to be blind and not running into walls so often. And with MSB's help, I began to hit my stride. Through my junior and senior year at MSB, I was first the class president and then the student body secretary general. I ran track, which was in the 1600 and 800 meter events. And I did the triple jump as well. I wasn't very good at the triple jump. I didn't win very many medals there. I also graduated valedictorian of the 2020 graduating class. And from MSB, I was ready to go on to college. And that was with the assistance of vocational rehab. I selected Hines Community College as my institution of choice. And with them, I got the laptop, which is over yonder. I can't really see it, but it's on the desk over there. The laptop that's using JAWS that I used to complete all of my schoolwork with. With them, they provided instruments for me to write Braille so I could become more fluent in it, which is how I'm keeping track of my notes. And it's just hard to explain, really, but it gave me the tools and capabilities to teach myself and also learn from their resources and also get connected with wonderful people like Miss Freeman. Miss Dorothy Young connected me to a lot of folks there. Vocational rehab connected me to the National Federation of the Blind. And I'm happy to say that I'm an NFB National Scholarship finalist. I've met Lieutenant Colonel John Pack in Maryland, who is also a totally blind Civil Air Patrol member. And that's how I got involved with the United States Air Force Auxiliary. And I became my squadron's communications officer. I think, after all, I had a pretty fortunate run. And it was through that kind of vague notion that there was a school for the blind in Mississippi, because I certainly wasn't aware of any supporting agency for blindness. My stepfather didn't really know at all until he found out that I was blind in a very explosive and very surprising way. And then even he had difficulty finding out that there were institutions to support blindness. All the people that I've spoken to in my life who were sighted before, they didn't really have any inkling or inclination that services existed and that blindness doesn't hold you back, but is merely a characteristic of you. It's flavor. And it took me a minute to kind of think of some ways that maybe I could contribute to this discussion. apart from my story, but some ways that VR could reach out and reach hard to reach communities. I think I'm very fortunate and think I'm very blessed. And I've met wonderful people and wonderful institutions that have helped me. But I know at the School for the Blind, not a whole lot of, well, there just weren't many students. There were 8 seniors in my graduating class, which makes being valedictorian maybe a little less meritorious. I think there were less than 60 students total, most of them elementary. And I know as blind people, we are a pretty small minority, but we're also sizable. And we have wonderful, wonderful people that are gathered here, for example, to help us achieve our goals. And I think it's a tough nut to crack on how to reach out to blindness. Mississippi is unique because it's Mississippi. I'm proud to be here, but our infrastructure is kind of lacking. But that may not be the case for other states. Using my story as an example, I think publicity is probably the best factor that can help just let people know, sighted people, average, ordinary people that are working 9-to-5 jobs or working in IT or any sort of vocation, that there are services and there are caring people and there are people ready and willing to help to rehabilitate. Maybe if you have a blind child, if you yourself go blind, if you know a family member that goes blind, or if you have eye degeneration or any sort of visual impairment. With publicity, I think letting schools first and foremost know, rural schools and schools in city areas would probably be the best, because if the kids know and if the institutions that they go for learning know, then that can propagate to the rest of society. I also think that kids are a key factor, especially at a young age. I think that if I had known that there were support agencies for me when I woke up in the hospital and I couldn't see, that would have saved me from wanting to try and kill myself again. With publicity and kids, I'm not entirely certain how to crack the tough nut and solve the case. It's a problem that makes me think a lot about it. And when Ms. Freeman asked me and gave me the opportunity to speak here, it's a subject that I spent a lot of thought on. As I said before, I think I'm very fortunate and very blessed. And I've succeeded largely in part due to the support from vocational rehab, the National Federation of the Blind, and the Mississippi School for the Blind. Blindness is such a minority in everyday life. And I think that if we spread word that blindness is acceptable, okay, and even relatively common, it can do a lot to help. If anybody has any questions or answers, or questions rather, I'm happy to answer them. Ms. Freeman, if you want to maybe take the floor and stimulate some discussion, I'm happy for that as well.
All right. Thank you, Maxine. Anyone have questions? I've enjoyed hearing your story, and wonder if from the floor, if there are questions. I know you talked about the good relationship you had with your VR counselor and how she helped you. Any particular takeaways? Oh, I'm sorry, Ismail, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, my question was, in the beginning, you said that you were having difficulty in finding resources. How were you, like your stepfather, how were you able to find or connect with the resources that helped you?
From my knowledge, my stepfather contacted the School for the Blind directly, and also there were caseworkers through social services involved when I was in the hospital. And through their connections, they might have done some outreach. I think there was a little bit of a web there where I fell into it because I was a minor, and I had just tried to commit suicide, which is a pretty noteworthy thing. And they got involved. and there was some outreach there, but I'm not sure there might be that web for all other cases of visual impairments.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the information.
Yep.
I was going to ask regarding your relationship with your VR counselor and what you remember the big takeaways in that relationship and what worked for you. And for those who are here who work in that field, just reminders about provision of service. What would you recommend or what really worked for you?
It's you would like me to answer, ma'am?
Yes. This is
Yeah.
Rob. I'm sorry.
Hey. What really worked for me with my vocational rehab counselor, Miss Woodard, is probably just honest communication. At that stage, just after being blind and still getting adjusted to everything and trying not to run into walls, I was pretty vulnerable. And Miss Woodard made herself open to good communication, which in turn made me want to communicate more. It made me ask questions of what products are there, what cases do you know of blindness succeeding, this product doesn't really work for me, I want to try something else. What other resources do you know within the department that might assist me? Miss Woodard connected me with Addie McBride, and I went there to the Addie McBride Center for the Blind. And that's where I got some really in-depth training. And I met blind people who are in managerial positions, highly successful, and accomplished musicians too, which is pretty cool. So communication and that first step of making oneself agreeable to communication is probably the thing that worked the best, because after that, everything else just followed and went into place.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's see, Beth has her hand up, and David, did you have a question too?
Well, Maxine, I'm Beth Newcomb, I'm from North Carolina. I just want to first say that you're an inspiration. You kind of make a personal touch point with me because my son went through the Civil Air Patrol program and went through the cadet ranks, and he has actually just completed basic training in the Army. So he was kind of on the same path as you. So that was just a personally touching to see how you and my son kind of had very crossing paths in this in your pursuits before your accident. What I wanted to ask is, it got me thinking of how, as VR counselors, how do we help an individual who comes to us in getting them involved in auxiliary organizations, not only CAP, whether it's the Boy Scouts, whether it's a local mission or organization, who can help inspire you to find ways to continue your passion, to participate in activities. Like you said, when you woke up, you thought your military potential was gone, but you have this opportunity in communications to still be in law enforcement. So that's the aspect that opens my eyes to say, well, there's opportunities out there where we can interconnect with our community in some of those ways. And so if you started in the Civil Air Patrol before you became blind, but what if a consumer isn't? Like, how do we help intersect that? Because that's a very interesting thing for us as professionals to try and do for our consumers, because sometimes we get so focused, we're on that career vocational path that we forget the holistic nature of helping address a person socially and interest-wise.
Well, I actually didn't really have any knowledge of the Civil Air Patrol existing because before I went blind, I was in JROTC, or the Junior Reserve Training Corps. But I did find out through the Civil Air Patrol, through the National Federation of the Blind. Mr. Maurice Perret connected me with Lieutenant Colonel Pack up in Maryland, and he's been totally blind all his life. And he was a CAP cadet when he was younger. and now he's a senior member and a U.S. Air Force Auxiliary. He introduced me to the Mississippi Wing and the squadrons nearby. I think in Mississippi particularly, since blindness isn't a really big popular thing, you might need an inside person or maybe someone within VR itself who's knowledgeable about Boy Scouts or Cub Scouts or even civilian auxiliary organizations, because the Civil Air Patrol has an auxiliary, the Navy has several, the Coast Guard has one, and I'm not entirely certain if those auxiliary formations can allow visually impaired people or disabled in general to join, but I know for certain that the Civil Air Patrol does.
And that's wonderful for me to know for even my connections. Even though my son has gone off into the armed forces, I still connect with my local Civil Air Patrol as well. So I wish you the best as a senior member as you continue on with them, because they are a great organization.
Yeah, it gives me an opportunity to still serve my nation, and even in some sort of auxiliary capacity. So I'm proud to wear the uniform.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for that question. Any other questions? David, go ahead if you have a question. Can't hear you though. What happened? You're not muted.
Okay, hopefully that's better. Apparently, I can't operate my phone and computer together. Maxine, thank you very much for sharing your story. And it's a lot to go through all at once, adjusting to becoming blind, dealing with the loss of family. I'm just curious if you worked with your counselor around issues related to not just adjustment to disability and resources, but how your counselor worked with you around depression and those issues, because I would just imagine it's not a clear trajectory, as you mentioned, still bumping into walls, handling setbacks differently as you continue to grow, and how that relationship worked to foster that.
Well, it's communication. I keep on repeating the word, but Miss Woodard made herself available to me to talk to, not only for vocational stuff or specifically within the department, but I was able with her to get a springboard of some ideas. I kind of threw everything at the wall and heard what stick. So through her work in introducing me to Addie McBride and the NFB, through them, I was able to get into more social support groups. I was able to make friends, realize that joking about being blind is something I can do. And I enjoy tormenting sighted people with really, really bad jokes. But I hope that answers your question. She was more of a gateway into other organizations through her connections. And she wasn't afraid to smile and laugh at the jokes.
No, thank you. That's very helpful.
Yes, sir. It might be too much to saddle with one VR person or one VR counselor to know everything and everything. But Miss Woodard herself was, like I said, very helpful, easy to get along with, great communication skills, and she enjoyed my blind jokes. So
Thank you, David, for the question. And Maxine, we'll have to get you to share a blind joke with us before you leave us. Ismail has his hand up, so we'll turn it over to him.
Thank you for telling us your story, Maxine. And I had a question for you in regards to your statement saying that like, meeting people that were blind that were in higher positions. during your process. How in that factor, how much can you say that that played in regards to your moving forward and progress and overcoming the new barriers that you were dealing with and as being blind on your process? Just because I'm curious, just to know if that should be something that should be pushed and trying to bring more past or current students that were successful and obtaining employment and just moving forward towards our new clients that are dealing with it and trying to overcome it.
Certainly. It had a profound impact on me. I mean, it gave me the opportunity to hope again and not want to muddle in misery and just sit there, saying empty prayers. And it had a profound impact on me. I saw people with doctorate degrees in education. I saw people working to help other blind people, giving back to the community that they're from. I saw people as business executives. I think the diversity for me and seeing that not only their stereotypical blind things like being a musician or being an educator, but they're blind people, for example, being lieutenant colonels in the Civil Air Patrol and working in emergency services and keeping up with sighted peers and carrying out critical functions as communications leaders in situations where they're responsible for giving orders and passing along messages to save lives. Seeing people succeed in the business environment against sighted peers, especially in high executive positions. And it's not only, I guess, very prestigious or high profile positions like having a doctoral degree or being a CEO, but I also went to work at MIB. Miss Woodard introduced me to that as part of a summer internship. And I saw, or I didn't see, but I heard rather, blind people being very everyday, going to work, paying bills, enjoying the local community, laughing and joking in the factory while we're assembling mop after mop after mop. So I was seeing blind people succeed and smile and enjoy life in, I guess, what would be traditionally lower prestige jobs, like working in the factory at the Mississippi Industries for the Blind. And I saw blind people succeeding in very high respectable positions, like having a doctoral degree and working in education, or working in the Ad McBride Center as an O&M instructor or some other life skills instructor. So I think it opened my eyes that I can be normal, and that blindness doesn't define me, and it's just some flavor and a unique characteristic to me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ismail, for that question. Any other questions? Other questions for Maxine?
I don't have a question. I just wanted to say thank you for sharing your story. And I think that what you said about, blindness just being a unique characteristic that adds some flavor to you is really a beautiful thing. So thank you.
It's through a lot of cooperation and supporting agencies that I was able to succeed. And I wanted to thank everybody here working to help anybody with a disability for offering up their time to make success stories like me, or inspire someone to move beyond suicidal ideations and really hit their stride as a person.
we really appreciate you sharing your story and being with us, especially considering that May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So I think that adds even an extra layer to this discussion and for all of us, and why it's so important that we have support systems in place, that we have good social networks where we can get support in the work that we do in the field or services we're providing, or if we're consumers of some service, that we do have people or that we can turn to, or networks or groups that can help us stay healthy in our journey, especially in terms of mental health awareness. So thank you for reminding us of that and the importance of that. Before we go, Maxine, do you have any closing words of advice for anyone who may be newly blind or suffering from, or it's not suffering, but experiencing vision loss in some way?
It's okay to run into walls. Even sighted people do it, but the wall is never a permanent obstacle. You can always, through your own ingenuity or through a close support network, find ways to get around that and achieve your life goals and be a normal person and a functional member of society.
Great advice. Thank you, Maxine. It's okay to run into walls, and whether you're sighted or blind, just remember you're going to run into some walls and it's okay. So appreciate your words of advice. Thank you for sharing with us today. And it's really enjoyed hearing your story. It's very encouraging to all of us.
Yeah,
thank you.
I appreciate it. Yes, ma'am.
Before we end today's community of practice, this is our last meeting, I think, for our community of practice. Our next step will be an in-person, potentially, I should say, for an in-person leadership academy. And we're looking at dates, and I'm going to do a quick poll. I guess I could have set that up. I don't know that I can do that, set that up while I'm talking. But the potential dates are September 13th through the 15th or September 20th through the 22nd. And those are random dates in terms of length. So it could be September 13th and 14th. But I included 3 days just in case. So could you let me know in the chat what works best for you? September 13th, 14th, and 15th. Or that's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or September 20th, 21st, 22nd. I'm going to give you a minute to put that in the chat box for me. September 13th through the 15th, or September 20th through the 22nd. I'm going to wait to hear from you. I'm going to call you out if you don't put anything in there. Either dates. Thank you, Ismail, Roxana, David. Thank you, Pamela. September 13th through the 15th or the 20th through the 22nd. And while you're considering and checking your calendars, I'll say this, that, you know, a big focus of Project E3 Leadership Academy, of course, has been your sustainability plans and keeping the work going when the funding has ended. So, of course, we want this convening, especially if it's an in-person convening, to focus on that as well. So if you're available to participate, I guess I'll ask you to go back to the chat and tell me, is that going to be you or will that be someone else who will be the designated representative from your state? If you could let me know, because I'm going to ask you another question. If it's you, then we would want you to focus on the project successes that you've experienced for your state, whether that's doing a presentation of some sort or next steps in your sustainability plan, or I know you've done videos before and all that. So I guess I'm looking to make sure I'm targeting the right people when I reach out to your state. Thank you, Beth. And David City is a fourth TC site that will be beginning late summer. So they are moving on in Virginia. So David, that would be you then that I would need to be reaching out to. Ismail, I might be contacting you. That may be you all of a sudden. We may agree that it's you. There's quite a few names that we have from California, and I can go back through my list and provide those to you. Anybody else? Daphne, Pamela, Marcena. Thank you for that, Pam.
So,
And Marcena said not sure. Go ahead.
Sorry, Robin. I was having to turn off my chat notifications because they were all reading over what you said. So can we get together after this? Because I don't want to have you repeat things that everyone else already heard.
No problem. I will. I apologize. Yes, I know sometimes the chat function does interfere with JAWS, and so we can have an offline discussion about that. Definitely.
Okay.
Great. Robin, this is Devin from California.
Yes. Hi, Devin.
Hi. We've had some like pretty big changes in leadership lately, which is, I think I wanted to have a conversation with you about that as well.
Okay.
So the main people that were kind of the overseers and the connection between us and E3 are retiring. So I'm just want to reach out and see what else we can do as a team right now as we go through that transition.
Yeah, let's have a conversation.
Okay.
Sometime probably next week, Devin or Daphne too. I can reach out and we can set up something.
Thank you very much, Robin.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for letting me know. I know we've had some changeovers also in Illinois, and I think people may have alluded to that already, giving me a contact there. So we'll be following up on those. All right. Anybody else? Any changeovers? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. It's Daphne, Robin. I don't know if New Mexico General had communicated that your contact with them also retired as of Monday. So you probably
get a few notices, I think last meeting, notice that went out that there were a couple of names that came back to me and said I'm no longer with the organization or person. So I was like, oh, I need to update my mailing list. So yeah, I did find that out last week. So I'll be following up with you, Daphne, and get more information.
Okay.
And Devin. All right, sounds like we're good everywhere else. I will be reaching out then individually to you all at some point over the next couple of weeks to kind of continue this conversation and to get more specific information. All right. Any questions for me? This is our last community of practice. Dr. Susan, do you have any final closing thoughts?
I just want to thank everybody for all the work that you put into Project D3. It has been really, as we're, probably gotten an email from me about evaluating the project, maybe several. We're still working through that process, so you may still get another email from me about setting up.
Sounds good. Thank you all, Susan, and everyone at Southern University for making this happen and keeping it going and all the behind the scenes work that you all have done on this project. I know it's been a lot. You guys have been so covered up with reports and things and wrapping it up. So we want you to know we appreciate you and thank everyone who's been on this community of practice for your continued support and loyalty to the community of practice and sharing and participating in these monthly meetings. I've learned quite a bit and I've enjoyed having this network. Anyone else want to say anything before we close?
I just wanted.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Devin.
Okay. I was a newer counselor when I got put onto this team, and I just wanted to say that it's been an amazing experience for me as a newer counselor, getting all of this information that I would have normally gotten and getting opportunities to do things like do a radio show for a specific, group of individuals within the region that we have in order to promote vocational rehab in that way, and just getting all these opportunities and being in New Orleans. And I'm so very grateful to have those opportunities. And I just wanted to thank from the team of California. We're kind of spread out, and like I said, there's been a lot of recent changes that's kind of done some things to us, but I really just wanted to say that I want to thank the E3 team for the opportunities that they've provided to us, and just the amount of knowledge that I feel like I have now that I can really implement into my work. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And this is David in Virginia. I want to echo everything Devin said. We've really taken to heart this opportunity. And as our state has changed, we found more and more ways to capitalize on some of those central themes and ideas around targeted communities to create a greater impact in various communities in our state. We are, as I mentioned in the chat, we're about to have our third area started and our fourth area is about to. And I think one of the nicest things has been not just the support from all of the faculty and universities who brought this and offered the opportunity, but as our counselors in different offices are getting involved in learning some of the pieces, they're echoing the sentiments of Devin, and we are seeing a shift in morale and a shift in that idea that more is possible, even though our funding is the same. Some of the things we're able to accomplish and the ways we're able to assist our clients with some of those wraparound things that might not really be in the purview of a VR counselor, but those strengthened relationships have meant a world of difference. And I can't thank you all enough.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, David. It's good to hear that this project has made a difference in how you see the work that you're able to do, that you're able to see it differently, that in spite of the same level of bureaucracy, same level of policies that you still have to deal with, you have found some innovation here in this group that you're able to take to your states and apply it and still do some great things. And that's great to hear. Thank you all. All right, if all minds are clear. Ms. Pamela, did you have something you want to say? Give us some closing words of encouragement.
No, I just hope that we can get better connected as we move along. I've got a lot out of what I was able to participate with Project E3, and I really appreciate it, everything that you've done, and hopefully Illinois can step up, and we have a lot to work with here. Hopefully we can get on board and get some stuff done.
Thank you. And
show off a little bit.
Show off. And yeah, absolutely. And listen, if anybody wants to connect, stay in touch. You'll be hearing from me, of course, over the next couple of months. And my email is, you're always welcome to reach out. And if I can help in any way, any TA, happy to do so. So thank you all again. Have a great rest of your week, great weekend, great holiday. Thank you, Maxine, for sharing your email. And please reach out to Maxine if you want to have him come speak to any of your youth or groups. Great speaker for your team. Thank you all again. Have a great day.
Thank you. Robin, can I talk to you for just a second?
Yes.